God bless you all. And may Jesus Christ, God's Son, love to be with you all. Being Christian and following Jesus Christ do not mean to be non-active, do not mean to be docile, and do not mean to be ignorant. Christianity is manifesting in real life by applying Jesus Christ's teaching and what he was showing to us by personal example. It is good to be curious and to learn about surroundings. Sifting and browsing through the news sites, I find this statistical numbers, which suggest a direction that is not Christian. It is shortest way to hell in Satan's arms. So this are the numbers. Was an event called the London Blitz. The mental health of the local British actually improved. Alcoholism declined, as did suicide during this time of a profound struggle against Nazi Germany. Why was this probably true? Several psychologists said it was because the British were united in their struggle. They had a common enemy. They supported one another unlike they did prior to the Blitz. They were inspired and they had hope for a better future. The people in the British government stood unified in their joint efforts to achieve survival. In short, the British had everything we do not have in our fight against the criminal elite. One of the factors that enabled England to achieve such solidarity was due to the fact that the majority of the people had enough to eat, drink, and collectively held on to the hope that they would persevere. In short, the people and the government stood as one. England, in large part, survived because they had a national sense of mental toughness, as expressed by Winston Churchill, who said, probably in the right time, "We will fight them, Nazis, in the streets." Today, seems that America does not come close to achieving the solid base of mental health which transferred into a national will to survive. Now we can look at America's General Mental Health Report in 2015. Over 9.3 million Americans had serious thoughts of suicide during that year. During that same year, 43.8 million adults, age 18 or older, experienced a diagnosed mental illness, as 2.7 million, 1.1%, made suicide plans, and 1.3 million, 0.6%, attempted suicide. The report by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration also finds that 10 million adults experienced a serious mental illness and 15.7 million adults experienced a major depressive episode in 2015. These results continued the same trend as was found in 2012, when the findings reached astronomical levels. In 2013, major depressive episodes affected approximately 1 in 10, 2.6 million, youth between the ages of 12 to 17. However, Americans do not get consistent treatment, with only 38.1% of depressed youths receive treatment for serious clinical depression. The SAMHSA report found that approximately 34.6 million adults, this represents 14.6% of all American adults, received mental health care. These numbers are significantly escalated over the period covering 2002 to 2011. According to the new report, 44.7% of adults with any mental illness and 68.5% of adults with serious mental illness received mental health services. And unlike the Brits of WW2, the lethal threats to our society have not unified us and buffered us against mental illness. The numbers listed above are indeed grim. The rate of mental illness is growing in lockstep with our failed economy. There is a definite correlation between the growing rate of mental illness and our obvious failures as a country. Over 20% of Americans have a diagnosable mental illness. Anywhere from 35 to 40% are receiving no treatment. This means that when the economy collapses, millions of displaced people with a significant mental illness will greatly exacerbate the coming civil unrest. Then, there is the issue of modern, post-industrial society itself, and this may very well be at the core of the mental health crisis. Consider this fact: today, the vast majority of people awaken to an alarm long before they've had enough restful REM sleep. The sleep-deprived American zombies then rush through their morning routine, undertake a stressful commute under pressure to arrive on time at a job that, more often than not, they hate. They put in their 10 to 12 hours. Did you know that compared to a generation ago, Americans are working 20% longer for about 20% less when adjusted for inflation? Companies demand more harder, faster work for generating more profit in the detriment of workers who create their profit. Mainstream media paid mouthpieces. They will never connect the dots or bring this to your attention. Following this lovely daily existence, Americans then fight their way through rush hour traffic to arrive at home exhausted, with barely enough energy to do more than have dinner and fall into bed. And then the next morning the alarm forces them out of bed the next morning to do it all over again. At the same time, these efforts fail to provide economic security. American workers, whose salaries and wages have been stagnant for years, are under the pressure of debts and financial obligations that are increasingly difficult to handle. Meanwhile, those in power continue to collect most of society's rewards at the expense of everyone else, while they blame the rest of us for our failures because the government love to blame on working class, and let's face it, they do not want to help at all. More they chain stone around your necks called taxes and fees, stealing 40% of work-class energy and time, income, and life force. The other major reason that this is happening is because of the free trade agreements. Americans are competing against people who will work for pennies on the dollar. All created by companies who moved the jobs for profit to make their millionaire cabal into billionaire cabal, and soon they will become trillionaire cabal. Meanwhile, our people are holding 2 and 3 jobs just to maintain the lifestyle. As a result, there is conclusive evidence that Americans are far more mentally ill than our foreign counterparts because of the economic stress that our people are experiencing. And unlike the British, who survived the Blitz, who could count on their government to support them in time of need, most Americans now view the present government as their enemy. Further, Americans have become a miserable people. Let's see now. The Happiness Report on America. It is not new and is common sense and knowledge for millennia. Philosophers from old Greece observed and know, also teach and told us eloquently and detailed that poor happiness levels reflects negatively on mental health. According to the United Nations World Happiness Report in 2015, the happiest country on earth is Denmark. This small Scandinavian nation is not the wealthiest, but has a strong social support system in place, not to mention low levels of corruption in government and business. Another country among the top 10 is Canada, who also has a strong social support system. In fact, this is common to all 10 of the world's happiest nations. Again, the US doesn't even make the top 30 in happiness levels. The US is a nation in decline. Just after the turn of the century, the US came in 10th place in the annual rankings of world's happiest countries. And this is in a country which historically believed that the next generation would do better than their parents. That is certainly no longer the case. The recent ratings marked the first time in the history of the Legatum Institute's Prosperity Index that America has not placed in the top 10. The US, as previously indicated, did not finish in the top 30, and last among the most industrialized nations. Most disturbingly, in the period from 1968 to 2008, the suicide rate in America rose 308% for people aged 15 to 24. It is clear that our children do not want to live in the conditions arising from our New World Order. These rising mental health calamities reflect the social, political, and economic attacks that we are enduring at the hands of the globalists. Now let's look at the economic outlook. There are many figures which illustrate why Americans are justified in being so bearish on the American economy. However, when we can point to the fact that the average citizen in India and China can accurately state that they think that it is a good time to find a job is 40% and 36%, respectively, yet, in the US and UK, those percentages are, respectively, 26% and 12%, it speaks to the abysmal set of financial conditions in the United States. This directly impacts our collective levels of resilience and optimism. These were the two primary psychological factors which allowed the British to survive the Blitz in the wartime. If nothing change, public just stay passive and watch or daydream, America will become a defeated nation. We have no chance of even mounting a fight against the criminal elite unless we have a degree of mental and spiritual health. The Christian principles, that we really hope that is true Christian, not some mix of Christian and Freemason, which is water and oil. In reality, principles that founded this nation are under attack every day in the media controlled by a few billionaires with obvious, non-strong or non-at-all Christian mind and soul. We have the highest cancer rates in the world, the highest autism rates, the highest obesity rates, and the worst mental health among the G20. We have 25% real unemployment, a collapsing economy, and a government that makes the mafia look honest. Unlike the British who survived the Blitz in the wartime, the government is the enemy of the people. The government side with a few megacorporations with bankers and so-called elites selling us all out. There is no solidarity among our people. It is not in the teaching in no schools and no churches. It is no more personal example in families. The concept of unity, solidarity, is fast fading away like the other extinct concepts, equality, fraternity and liberty. God-given freedom. Our leaders have employed a divide and conquer approach to controlling the people, which should be easy recognized by people, is old like human history and is so foolish to fall in the same trap over and over again, is not clumsiness, is simply ignorance, which is definitely not Christian. It is black versus white, gay versus straight, male versus female, parents versus kids, etc. We are going through a horrific blitz by the criminal elite. The British taught us how to persevere, in that time, wartime. Is there any way to stem the tide? There is one small chance, and that would be for this country to unify behind God and His Son Jesus Christ and repel the skull and bone Bohemian Grove type of people. Probably we will find out in the resulting political outcome will be their emotional solidarity. The American might find solace and unity. This could lead to developing a spirit of resilience needed to fight against evil. And if Trump were smart, keeping his promises, he would quickly, and without qualification, fully align with Christians. If Trump will free economically us from burden of payroll tax, that will restore the freedom and economic prosperity. We might regain some of our lost mental perspective. We might also give the Lord Jesus Christ reason to show that we accept Him and not the Antichrist. God and His Son Jesus Christ bless you all. Thank you for listening to my Christian Loud Thoughts. God bless you all. And may Jesus Christ, God's Son, love to be with you all. Being Christian and following Jesus Christ do not mean to be non-active, do not mean to be docile, and do not mean to be ignorant. Christianity is manifesting in real life by applying Jesus Christ's teaching and what He was showing to us by personal example. It is good to be curious and to learn about surroundings. Sifting and browsing through the news sites, I find this statistical numbers, which suggest a direction that is not Christian. It is shortest way to hell in Satan's arm.